Okay, you're good.
I see it. Thank you. Welcome to the Village of Victor zoning meeting for October 21st, 2020. Call the meeting to order. The next item on our agenda is the salute to the flag. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the acceptance of the minutes for the September 16th, 2020 meeting. Is there any discussion that the board needs to have on those meetings or those minutes? I'm sorry.
I had nothing.
Anyone? Nothing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept those meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. All right. Thank you. Moving right along, the next item on our agenda is 169 Church Street. I will read the legal notice into the record. A public hearing will be held before the Village of Victor Zoning Board of Appeals remotely via the Zoom app and can be viewed on the Village YouTube channel on Wednesday, October 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. The application of Ryan McElhaney for an area variance to the Village of Victor zoning code for the property located at 169 Church Street. The applicant is requesting approval to renovate and expand their existing garage to 25 foot 6 inches by 30 foot. The parcel is located in the R1 Family Residential Zoning District. Pursuant to 170-10.e, 15 foot wide setbacks are required for primary structures within the R1 district. The applicant is proposing to expand the garage on the northeast corner, decreasing the setback to 8 foot 6 as measured at the eaves. At this time, the general public cannot be present in person at the public hearings, but can comment via the Village of Victor YouTube channel, which will be found at the villageofvictor.org under Village of Victor virtual meetings on YouTube. Other ways to comment are via email at the ptclerk@villageofvictor.org or via U.S. mail to 60 East Main Street, Victor, New York, 14564. Comments can also be submitted in our mailbox located at the Village Hall. If you have any questions, please call us at 585-924-3311. That's from Sean Sanderson, the chairperson of the board. We also all received comments from the Village of Victor Office of Code Enforcement from Marty, which will be part of the record. I won't read them in, but we will refer to them, so they will be part of the record. And then we also did hear from a neighbor, which I will read into the record later. But Ryan, if you want to give us kind of an overview of this project. We all have the materials in front of us, and if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then we'll obviously have questions and comments and concerns.
Sure thing, absolutely. So I just want to say thank you first to Pam and Roseanne and Marty. They've been very helpful in kind of getting me the right forms and helping me through this process. I am asking for an area variance at 169 Church Street. The north side of the garage, as you mentioned already, is R1 zoning. Originally, when I filled out the application, I didn't realize the difference between R1 and R2 zoning. The east side of Church Street is R2 zoning, which only requires 10 foot setbacks, which would have been much less of an area variance in that case. But being on the west side of Church Street, we need the 15 foot setbacks. As you mentioned before, my garage is currently 23 feet wide by 20 feet deep, and we're asking to for the variance to widen it to 25 feet 6 inches, so an increase of 2.5 feet, and by 30 feet deep. This is mainly to achieve some bedrooms and a bathroom above the garage, and to be able to increase the mudroom within the exist within the garage structure itself. Currently, we have a mudroom in our garage. It's only 3 feet 10 inches wide by 6.5 feet deep. We have a family with 4 children, so there's 6 of us. It's very non-functional at this point. We can't get all of us into the mudroom at all if it's raining or snowing or that kind of stuff. So with the new plans for the garage, we're hoping to get a 6-foot wide mudroom by about 15 feet deep. And then the current garage space, not including the mudroom, is 18 feet 8 inches. And we're actually decreasing the size of the actual garage itself to only 18 feet. So we're actually taking a little bit out of the garage, but we felt we couldn't go any smaller than that, or it really wouldn't be. It's barely a functional 2-car garage at 18 feet 8 inches. At 18 feet, we would really not even be able to open both. With 2 cars in, open all the car doors. We wouldn't be able to do that even at 18 feet, but we wanted to keep this still as small as possible. Just to also note, of the 2.5 feet of additional increase for the area variance into this side setbacks, only 1 feet 10 inches of that will be the actual wall of the garage moving out towards my neighbor's side lawn. And then the additional 8 inches of that is just the overhang for the guttering system and stuff like that. So with architectural drawings that we had done, the architect thought that it would be more beneficial and feasible to change the direction of the roof line to be able to do shed dormers with this project, which then created overhangs for what we needed. So I think that's important to note that a portion of this area variance request is just going to be that 8 inches of overhang and guttering system. Above the garage, I think I mentioned there's going to be we're actually going to have 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom above the garage for the kids, and just quickly running down, I know with the application, and you guys have this. I don't have a copy of this anymore, but the 5 main questions that are asked for area variance.
Right, I'm going to interrupt
Sure.
you. We'll get to the 5 main questions. You don't have to go all on your own there.
Okay.
No, but I appreciate that.
Sure.
So
So that's the main thing that we want to do with this project.
Gotcha. Marty, is the other side of, is R2 10 feet?
It is for primary structure.
And the other side of the street is R2?
Correct.
So literally, if my house was 170 Church Street, we'd be looking at a much different plan with 10-foot setbacks. But we have to abide by these 15-foot setbacks.
And then just to be clear, this is I guess we should go into the referral comments, is that this is a pre-existing non-conforming. So currently your side setback is supposed to be 15 and right now it's 11 foot 1, correct?
That's correct.
And then you're only asking for an additional 2.5 feet into that, beyond that 11 foot 1, but your request is really, once you're modifying this property from the current footprint, then we're talking about 15 feet, because yes, technically you're only moving the wall by a foot and the eave beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to work off of that 15-foot side setback as the code, as it's a modification off of a non-conforming structure.
Sure.
So,
and I did, in looking at Marty's comments for number 3, the 57.3% variance from the required 15-foot setback. So by my calculation, we're already at a 26% pre-existing non-conforming structure. I'm looking to increase to a 42.7, which is the difference between, the 57.3 that will be remaining of the side lawn setback, which is an increase of 16.7% non-conforming, of which 4.5% is the overhang, 12% is moving the wall. So I didn't know if those calculations would be helpful for you guys.
they are. Thank you.
Sean, the house to the south, do we know how far that garage is off the side lot line? It appears
I
to be
do
very
not.
close.
I know the people that live there, the Lefebvre family. I've been there, and I would. Marty, do you happen to have an idea? I mean, it's
If
5
you
feet off the property line.
5 minutes, I can find that out for you.
Okay. Why do you ask, Brendan?
Because I think it matters for the neighborhood.
For the neighborhood, you say?
Yeah, and the balancing test, is there a negative impact on the neighborhood? I think it helps to demonstrate that the house immediately, I believe it's to the south, has a garage that's give or take 5 feet from the property line. And the house immediately to the north does not mind what the applicant is asking for. I think it would help to show that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that all up and down Church Street, you'll see several detached garages that are close to the property line, and several houses that are pre-existing non-conforming that are not 15 feet off of the property line. I think that's kind of the feel of a lot of this street / neighborhood. So I think, yeah, I agree with you that it's right immediately next door and then not uncommon on the whole street.
Right. I was going to actually mention that in my comments as well. And I feel like this, with this variance, I would fall somewhere, very much in the middle of the average house on Church Street. And some would be less of a side setback, some would be more. But yeah, I also have that in my comments.
So to answer your question, the detached garage at 161 Church Street is 5.7 feet from the property line. But keep in mind that that is detached, so it would be an accessory structure and it would have a different setback requirement, which would be 10 feet.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Marty.
I also don't know if this matters or not, but I did just take a measurement, and Marty would probably have better numbers than I do. I just took a tape measurement tonight, and I measured for my north neighbor's exterior wall to our common lot line, and he had about 20 feet. Whatever it is, 20 feet, about 20 feet 6 inches from what I measured, and then I would have, again, if this area variance was granted, about 8 feet 7 inches remaining, which is 29 feet 1 inches, and then which is almost 30 feet. And if you exclude the 8-inch overhang for the guttering, we're at 29 feet 9 inches, which is very close to 30 feet. Which between the two of us, we almost make up that 15 feet and 15 feet, even though my neighbor has 20 feet of it and I have about 10 feet of it. So.
Thank you. When do you like to do this project?
As soon as possible. I have a builder, a Mennonite gentleman from down around the Penn Yan area that I'm pretty close to next on his docket. So if the area variance were to be granted, we potentially could be starting in a few weeks.
I'm sorry, starting in how long?
Starting within a few weeks, hopefully. Hopefully, the best case scenario, we would like to have a garage torn down, the new foundation and additional slab poured, and then the structure to be built, sided, roofed before the weather gets really bad. So then they can start to work on the interior stuff during the winter time.
And then what's the total time that for construction? Approximately.
Yeah, I think this is pretty quick, but again, this Mennonite gentleman, Andrew Shirk, he claims about 6 to 8 weeks, which is, again, I think that's pretty quick. But again, they might bring a pretty big crew and work pretty fast. Again, for the exterior part of the structure that people will be able to see, I think that'll be very quickly done within a few weeks. And then the interior stuff obviously can be done, you know, the drywalling and electrical work and that kind of stuff, you know, at a pace, whatever they can, you know, come up
Right. But it'll be buttoned up in a few weeks.
with. Hopefully, yes.
Sean, I will say from working with Andy in the past, if he says it'll be done in 6 weeks, it'll be done in 5.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thanks, Marty. And then what's the approximate cost of this project?
So my quote for just basically the demolition, pouring the new slab, build out of the main structure, roofing it, siding it, is $49,000 for that portion of it. That's what Andrew will be doing. I'm going to work at doing the flooring myself. I still need to get quotes for electrical, HVAC. The plan for HVAC in the architectural drawings is we plan on doing these mini split lines that'll be like, you know, a condenser unit that'll heat and cool the rooms upstairs. I'm not sure actually what those cost. So main structure, 49,000, you know, then electrical, HVAC, plumbing would be additional cost as well.
And if you did you look at any other scenarios for, you know, accomplishing what you hope to accomplish? I mean, I know that this is going deeper as well, but just going off of the back of this of your
Yeah,
house, or?
we did look at like other ways to try to add space within the existing house. And by going off the back from the middle of the house, which is already deeper,
Mhm.
would just really pretty much eat up our whole back lawn for the kids. By expanding the garage to 30 feet, we almost basically make the house even the whole way across. So it wouldn't create like a big bump out, you know, in an already kind of tight space in the back lawn, you know, how it is already.
Okay.
Does the pitch of the roof go in the same direction?
No, the pitch of the roof on the garage will change by 90 degrees.
I can pull that up and show you guys.
Yeah, those drawings were helpful that the architect provided.
Good, good.
And then while you're doing that, Marty, Ryan, the driveway is a little wider at the garage. How far does that driveway go out, and will that be the line of your driveway going forward? I mean,
So yeah, the driveway won't change at all. I think it is actually about 2.5 feet additional. We just did that to be able to pull cars a little bit, you know, further over at times. Yeah, so the new wall of the garage will match up pretty well with that additional little bump out that we have on the existing driveway.
okay. David, can you see the drawings that you
Yeah, I
obviously?
Yep.
Gotcha.
I assume gutters will handle the water runoff from that side.
Correct. And we also, on that north side of the house, our gutters that currently come down, they go into like a French drain system that we had put in a few years back when we had the driveway redone. So they'll just continue, like they'll connect into that same French drain system that the gutters currently connect into. And you can see too in the drawings, the other reason to change the roof line was to be able to do more of the shed dormers. So a shallower roof pitch to optimize the livable space above the garage.
Yeah, I think it looks great. So does anyone from the board have any more questions for Ryan? At this time, I'll open it up to the public, and I will also at this time read the letter into the record from the neighbor. The letter reads, it's dated September 13th of 2020, and it says, to whom it may concern, I am Richard Lyman, residing at 179 Church Street, Victor, New York. Ryan and Kate have been my neighbors to the south for the past 10 years. and we are in very good standing with each other. Ryan and Kate have spoken with me and given me the opportunity to review the architectural drawings of their upcoming garage remodel they desire to move forward with. I am aware of the need for the garage to expand to the existing side lawn setbacks, and they will be requesting a variance. I am fully aware of the 26 foot, the 2 foot 6 inch of additional width of the garage, and I believe that it would not be detrimental to the spacing between our two homes or to the overall character of the neighborhood in general. I believe the garage remodel will improve the look of their house, which helps to improve the overall home values in the neighborhood. I'm in favor of the Village of Victor granting Ryan and Kate the area variance to be able to move forward with their project. Kind regards, Richard Lyman. So that's part of the record. Marty, is there anyone that's on YouTube that has any comments, questions, or concerns?
I do have one comment that just popped up from Frank Oria of 81 Church Street. He said, I support granting an area variance, and that's all.
Thank you. Roseanne, did you get that?
Yes.
So the other thing is, I did speak with a neighbor, and I'm looking behind Ryan's property, a Kathy Sweet of 25 Duxbury. We discussed the project, and she, to summarize, did not oppose the project. She had more bigger problem with the legal notice that I read into the record, that she didn't feel that the legal notice really depicted what was actually happening on this project. And she thought that another sentence or two that said that they were adding additional space upstairs and things like that would have cleared up her confusion. So I just wanted to have that let you guys know that we did have that conversation and that she was not against the project, just had a concern with the legal notice. So for the record, 2 people spoke in favor of the project and none spoke against it. So I'll close the public portion of the meeting, and then we'll go through the balancing test. And Ryan, we're going to have a little give and take between you and us and the board, the rest of the board on the balancing test.
Okay.
So item number 1 is, can the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by other feasible means? And Ryan writes that there's no other feasible means. Keeping the same garage wouldn't allow for both the 6 foot wide mudroom and maintaining a 2-car garage with the ability to open doors and when the cars are pulled in the garage. Furthermore, to make the garage more narrow would make the rooms above the garage smaller and less functional. Comments? Do you think that there's other feasible means to go ahead, Brendan? Sorry.
I think my comments are, I completely understand why it's nice to have a mudroom and a nice large bonus room, whatever you want to call it. I think there's another feasible way to accomplish this. But again, I like the project. I don't have an issue with it at all.
But you think there's other feasible means?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I think the key word is benefit sought by the applicant, not benefit sought by really anyone else. So, but I think I agree with Brendan. There's probably other ways to do this that may be more conforming. So,
Actually, I don't know that you can conform. I mean,
Well,
if they were to go back, even going back at this point needs an area variance because it's not conforming.
I mean, I misspoke there. Not not more conforming, not conforming, but more in line with what's pre-existing. So if you're looking for a poll, I think my answer would be yes. It can be achieved by other feasible means. Am I saying that correctly?
Only you know, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would take the other side of that argument and say, I don't think it can.
David?
I would say it can. I mean, you could always just put a whole second level on the existing home if you want more space.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably there's feasible means that there are other possible solutions. But I would say that you're not going to achieve, there is not another feasible means to do it and not require and be within 15 feet. So they could rebuild this, and Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, but they could tear the garage down and rebuild it the same dimensions and add a second floor as long as it didn't go closer to the neighbor's property line.
Correct. As long as they don't increase the nonconformity, they could do an addition, expansion, etc. Just
So,
not
any modification to this, I mean, they could do that would not require a variance, but
correct.
they as soon as they modify it by an inch, or alter it in another manner, which increases the nonconformity, then they require a variance. So, I would say they would be hard pressed to do this and not be within the 15-foot setback. But what we're talking about is the fact that they could stay at that 11-foot setback and achieve their means. So I'm going to say tiebreaker that there are other means, feasible means.
If I could just add,
hold on a second, Ryan. The other issue is, this is what, a $45,000 project? Is that what I heard?
50,
49,
yeah.
49.
Okay. You throw another, floor onto the main house, and you build out the bonus room above the garage. You're looking at 85 to 100. That eliminates feasibility for me.
And that's true. We have, with some of the other architects that we've had come in to look at potential to do things in other areas of the house to raise up the roof and do that. It was so unbelievably costly. It did make it not feasible for us. And I guess to make one other comment, even if we were to say that we could get more bedrooms in other areas of the house by raising the roof, it doesn't solve the problem of the mud. And again, maybe it's a necessity, maybe it's not a necessity. The mudroom being so small with a family of 6 that we can't even really feasibly get into it. To again expand that mudroom to just big enough for us that we feel like we could get in and out of the weather, and also again be shrinking the garage down by about 8 inches in this attempt. The upstairs stuff could go smaller. Rooms can get smaller, but that really is, if we go 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches smaller, either becomes a 1-car garage or the mudroom goes back to a non-functional mudroom, basically.
Does anyone from the board want to continue with the feasibility? Do you think that there's other feasible means based on what Ryan said?
I think we already voted, didn't we?
Yeah, what I'm asking is, does that change anyone's vote?
Not here, no.
No.
Right. So as a board, we say there's other feasible means. No, just to be clear, Ryan, you don't have to pass all of these tests. So the fact that it's feasible doesn't necessarily exclude you from getting a variance. It's just, we're just doing the balancing test.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
so Roseanne, the board feels that there are other feasible means. And then moving on to number 2, will the granting of the variance produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties? Ryan writes that no, the garage variance will allow for an improvement upon the look of our house and the character of the neighborhood, and it will have no detriment to nearby properties. My neighbor to the north, who would be most affected by the variance, has reviewed the architectural drawings and is in favor, as he said in that letter. I agree. I don't think that there's any undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or any detriment to nearby properties. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Same.
Gotcha. So we don't need any more discussion on that. Is the requested variance substantial? The applicant says yes. The variance is substantial, and that it requires the approval to be able to build the garage within the confines of the side lawn setbacks.
I didn't really know how to answer that question, or I didn't know what that question was truly asking, so I'm not sure if I answered that correctly or not.
Well, I think you did go into this a little bit with the percentage of setback. That's usually what we do when we talk about the substantial is what are we looking at as far as a percentage of the for the variance.
Okay.
So those numbers, I think we could add those to the record. What did you say? So the existing now it's.
Yeah. So right now, by my calculations, we are at 26% pre-existing non-conforming structure. We're looking to increase to 42.7% non-conforming structure, which will be an increase of 16.7% non-conforming, with 4.5% of that being the overhang and 12% of that being the wall actually moving into the sideline setback.
Does anyone from the board have thoughts on whether it's substantial?
Yeah, I always thought we balanced that against the existing code, not the existing building. So if we're looking at 8.5 feet and we're actually supposed to be 15 feet, rough math, 44%, 45%?
42.7%.
Okay. I would say that is substantial to me, because we usually balance it against the code, not against the existing.
Brendan?
I think it's hard to disagree that it's substantial. I don't remember a time where we've had an existing, pre-existing non-conforming issue. And I think it's important to consider that. But I think it's difficult to say that this is material.
David or Tim?
I'm gonna go with it is substantial.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's substantial and that we have to look at it, according to the existing code. But I do think that when you're doing our balancing test, we're measuring all of these, that the fact that it is pre-existing non-conforming and that would only be moving it, a foot or two into the beyond where it is now does play a role in my future decision. So it's.
I like the argument earlier about gutters also, and when I look at setback, I think of the structure of the house. But I think Ryan had a great argument that the gutters are a couple inches. It just lessens the ask. It lessens the request.
And also, just to add one final thing, which we already brought up too, is just the kind of the unluckiness that Church Street is literally the dividing line between R1 and R2. If the house was on the other side of Church Street, it would only be 10-foot side setbacks. Where here it's 15, so we just kind of happened to fall on the wrong side of the street in this case for whether that's, again, a bit of an argument or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just kind of unlucky is what it is.
Sure. I mean, it certainly comes into the, how substantial it is when you're looking at, you'd be asking for a 1.5 feet instead of 7.5 feet.
Correct. Exactly.
So I think that it is substantial, but I do think that those are definitely considerations when we move forward. So as a board, to be clear, Roseanne, do you have it as it is substantial? You're
I agree.
nodding, everyone? Substantial?
Yes, got it.
Yes.
Thank you. Will the variance have any adverse physical or environmental effects on the neighborhood or the district? No, I mean, anyone? No?
I say no.
And then was the alleged difficulty self-created?
Yeah.
Have we ever found one that hasn't been?
Yes.
I can't remember what I wrote for that comment. I might have put no, but I mean, I guess in the reality, like every single one of those has to be a yes, I suppose. Growing family, growing, that kind of stuff. These are all self-created needs. So
You were smart. You left.
what's that?
You were smart. You left it blank.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right, does anyone from the board have any more questions for the applicant? Then is there anyone from the board that would like to make a motion? Then I guess I'll start it then. So I'll move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor code for the property located at 169 Church Street to allow a 8-foot 6-inch setback on the northeast property line as measured at the eave. Ryan, you're comfortable that, I mean, so we're going to say 8'6". So
Sean, I would just amend that to it's 8.6 feet. It's not
Right.
8.5 feet.
thank you. So move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor code for the property located at 169 Church Street to allow an 8.6 foot setback on the northeast property line as measured at the eaves. And Ryan, that's just to be clear that it can't be any closer. So you're saying there's no modification to this. There's no.
Correct.
Good.
Isn't it just the north property line?
Yes, just
Not
the
northeast?
Yeah, I mean, the code enforcement referred to it as the northeast corner. So based on the site plan, I think it is north, but I was just.
It would
Make it
be the north property line setback.
I think it's north, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
northeast corner of the garage, but it's the north property setback.
Okay, well, then we'll strike east and we'll have it say the setback on the north property line as measured at the eaves. Anyone?
Works for
Anything
me.
need to be added or subtracted or?
Roseanne, would you mind?
Move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor zoning code for the property at 169 Church Street to allow 8.6 an 8.6-foot setback on the north property line as measured at the eaves.
I think we should reference the drawings that were submitted, right?
Yeah, as measured at the eaves and illustrated.
For the attached schedule or whatever.
Yeah, as illustrated in the attached architectural drawings.
Also a time limit to be constructed within 12 months from the date herein.
Yeah, I have that written down as a question. Is that we typically do that so that it's not open ended. Ryan, do you? I mean, I don't think there's any scenario where this doesn't get done in a year.
Correct. That's completely fair. I would say that's excellent. Yes.
The code actually speaks to that as well from a building side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, we've always added it, and I think it's wise too, just so it's in there. So project must be completed by 12 months from today.
That's fine.
I would just question the addition of adding reference to the drawings, just because the drawings call out a 9-foot property setback, and that's because it's measured to the wall as opposed to the eave. So I'll leave that to the board to decide, but I just wanted to point that out.
Interesting.
The written resolution would take precedent in the future if there were ever a question. However, there would obviously be some confusion if the drawings were part of the record. I can pull that up if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, would you mind? So you're not, Marty, you're not suggesting that. So you're saying just strike that sentence. You're not suggesting that we refer to it as a 9-foot setback. You're saying.
No, I would maintain the 8'6". It's just the drawings are going to contradict the 8'6", because as you can see right here, it says 9, and that's measured to either a foundation point or a wall point. But from a code standpoint, when we measure setbacks, we look at the eave, which would not be referred to here on the drawings.
Marty, could we reference per the attached drawings per Schedule A, which reference a distance to the wall, and that's something to qualify that?
Yeah, I mean, the more detail you add to it, the less confusion it'll cause 20 years down the line when I'm not here, you're not here, just to keep it clear for future code enforcement.
Per the attached Schedule A, which measures the distance to the wall.
Correct.
Measures a distance of, I can't see it, it's too small, but
Yeah,
8
sorry, I
feet to the
can't pull
wall,
it up.
something like that.
Yeah, it says 9 feet. Do you have that, Roseanne?
No. Say it again.
Thank you for your
I'm
honesty. So,
What? Roseanne, why don't you read it again and then we'll
Okay.
take it in.
Move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor zoning code for the property at 169 Church Street to allow 8.6-foot setback on the north property line as measured at the eaves and illustrated in the attached architectural drawings. But what did you want to reference?
I would say period, and then say potentially that drawings show the distance of 9 feet from the wall, exterior wall, something like that. I'm not dictating that. I'm just saying, is there a better way? Maybe there's a better way to say that, Brendan. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what you said.
Yeah, I think typically what we say is we're granting an area variance to allow the construction, or maybe in this case, a renovation to 169 Church Street per the attached drawings.
Right, but what Marty's saying is the drawings don't show that 8 foot,
Right.
8.6 feet anywhere, which is what he has to refer to.
Yeah, we've never seen this before. So per the
Take that
attached
part out.
drawings, which measure distance from the lot line to the wall. Instead of the eave.
I think that's confusing.
Or just reference the drawings and add with a maximum setback of 8.6 feet. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would, from seeing things like this in the past, I would avoid referencing two separate numbers. I would
Yeah.
reference the 8.6 that you're going to grant. You can reference the drawings by all means. Once it's built, there'll be an as-built survey done, which you could attach that to the record, and that would show the 8.6 foot setback.
What's
Okay.
the purpose of referencing the drawings? To show what it's going to look like, or what we want the setback to be?
As originally spoken by Sean, we made no mention of the project at hand. We only mentioned the setback. And I think it's important to say that there's a renovation going on. And we have an item in front of us that describes and outlines that renovation, and that's getting us on board with this. We looked at the renderings, we looked at the drawings, and we all said, oh, that looks nice. I think that's going to help beautify the neighborhood. And I think it's important to include that in the record.
Then let's include it as a reference to appearance and not to what the setback is.
Sure, fine.
Yeah, I think Tim had it right.
So how do you want to put it in the motion?
You can reference the drawing, but no closer than 8.6 feet.
Yeah, I just think what Marty was saying is it's just confusing the way I said it. That said to allow for an 8.6 foot setback on the north property line as measured at the eaves and illustrated in the attached drawings, because you're not going to see that 8.6 foot setback. So I think to grant an area variance to construct, to a Village of Victor code to construct a garage located at the, I think if you separate those two things, it's less confusing. So if you say move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor code, for construction of a,
Closer than 8.6 feet. Correct?
sorry,
No closer than 8.6.
yep.
Now, that means we are moving the north lot line or setback line 8.6 feet from the front of the property to the back of the property. So if he wants to build something back there within the 8.6 feet, he can.
Well, I
If he
think
wants
that's
to
why
do
we're
it at the
saying,
front. I'm
that's
sorry.
why we refer to the as illustrated in the drawings, because that speaks to exactly what we're allowing. It's
Right, I agree. We want to make sure that we tie it to the request in front of us today
Right.
and the project in front of us today. And I think any way that we can reference the project is what we need to do.
Can we reference the dimensions of the proposed project?
They're in the drawings. They're a reference, right?
So is a 9-foot setback. So we need to be careful how we're referencing it.
Is it 9 foot more than 8.6?
Yeah, I'm just looking for, I think it does say the dimensions of, Marty has the dimensions of the garage. But I mean, they're clearly illustrated in the attached drawings. So I think if we just refer to the attached drawings that were covered. So I'm going to try to get this right. And then, so we move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor code to allow the property located at 169 Church Street to allow
The construction of.
Yeah. To allow construction of
Or maybe to allow the renovation of the project.
the renovation of the property. Because I mean, they're tearing down and renovating the house too. With an 8.6 foot setback on the north property line as measured at the eaves, period. And then,
And referred to in attached drawings.
yes. Yeah, like project is illustrated in the attached drawings and must be completed by whatever that 12 months is from today.
Want me to read what I have?
Yeah, sorry, Roseanne.
Okay. Move to grant an area variance to the Village of Victor zoning code to allow the renovation of a garage at the property at 169 Church Street, no closer than 8.6 feet from the north property line as measured at the eaves, as illustrated in the attached architectural drawing, and to be constructed within 12 months from today, or from the date of the resolution.
Yeah. Yeah, date of resolution.
So is the no closer than 8.6 feet from the north property line sound okay?
Yeah, as long as it says measured at the eaves.
Measured at the eaves, yep.
Just to throw it out there, we've never said 8.6 before. We've always said 8 feet, 6 inches. Do we want to adopt this new
Well, it's not
technique, or do we want to?
So that's a
8.6 is not
standard.
8.
That's a standard in survey speak, which is how it'll be measured on the as-built survey plan.
What do you guys think?
I think it's fine as long as it's consistent with the other, like the survey that Marty referenced.
Okay.
So I'll make that my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Who
All in
seconded?
favor?
I'm sorry.
Tim.
Was that Tim?
Tim
Okay.
seconded it. Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? None. Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the information and sitting through this with us. It's a little The Zoom makes it a little more complicated for us, but we'll get there. So
That's okay. This is good. So now at
Nice
this
job, Ryan.
point, my next step is to wait for Marty then to grant the permits for this.
yeah,
Correct.
Roseanne, he'll get something from you. Or he'll
Yeah,
come in.
I'll send you a letter with the resolutions and then you'll have to do the building permit with Marty.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there any other business that the board needs to discuss? Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to end the meeting?
So moved.
Brendan, is there a second?
Second.
David, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None.